Hey guys, and welcome back. In this episode we have a special guest. He's actually not a guest. He sits right behind me and works on a whole bunch of stuff that our companies produce. And we're going to speak today about producing first visual representations of the product based on the first 4 milestones, where we produced a lot of documentation for the reason of having best possible understanding of what the product is going to be. Now that we have done that, we can start preparing, I don't want to call it wireframes because it's actually sketches of the future product. We are sketching the concept. For that reason, Dragan, who's been working with me for 9 years on over 200 projects and he has bled together with me, I'm going to let him properly introduce himself. Don't be too long, please, as I'm bothering people already. So brief intro and let's get started.
Yeah. Hi guys, my name is Dragan Dražić and I'm design consultant. And in this episode we will talk more about the sketching the concept. And of course you don't need to be Picasso, so we will use just simple objects and geometrical shapes, and let's begin.
Okay. Dragan will be sketching stuff. I'll be explaining what we're doing, and we're going to put some focus on what he's sketching there. We prefer this phase being actually hand-sketched, as it allows us to be agile in what we're doing rather than being more process-oriented using Illustrator, which is our preferred tool.
Yeah.
So what is the key point here? We have this bunch of documentation and of course paper again, because we can cross things out and make marks that we need. That's how we tend to work on sketching the concepts. Whatever suits you, feel free to use the tools that you're best accustomed to. What is the most important thing? We must focus on the core functionality. We're going to use Meet Me at app as a use case, so this makes sense rather than making something up. And if you don't recall Meet Me at app yet, please review previous episodes, which will give you an intro to what the app is, or will be actually. And the main features we want to represent right now is the actual map. User enters the app and sees the map in which they can enter the address or point to address. Once they have selected this meeting location, they can share it with other people who will join and so on, so on. I'm going too far. Let's start sketching and I'll be explaining along the way. So we are going to start off with drawing the most important functionality. The center of our universe of this app is the map itself. So the main representation of the map is going to be something that just signifies this is the map, of course. And it is enough for us, it's sufficient to explain what it is. What is the main feature the user needs here is the search bar, basically, where the user would enter the address of the location where the meeting is going to happen. Now, user can enter this by typing the letters and it will probably auto-complete the information, something we don't need to draw to sketch right now.
Yes.
What is the next most important thing we need to represent is the marker, right?
Yeah. The location marker.
The location marker, we're gonna put in the center, and that is the meet location, basically the same location, I would say, as the user who just opened up the app.
Yeah.
Now I would say this would probably confirm this would complete the first screen.
Yeah. Maybe we can put some users.
Yes, let's show the user, but you know the location of the user will be the same as the marker itself. So we should probably show the marker of the user once the user starts moving the map.
Yeah.
So let's draw another screen,
Yeah, you're right.
which is the same one And let's keep the meet marker at the center again. But let's now draw another marker, which is the user marker, which is representing myself as the user using the app. And what is the next logical step that will happen here? As we have moved the map or entered the location to find the street we want, we should probably show the recenter button, so that we can reposition the map again back at the central location. For the usability point, let's keep always this location marker at the center of the map, and the location of the user is, of course, always at its actual location at the moment. At this moment, as we have moved the map, the key action that can happen is actually user sharing the location of the meeting. So we need this main action button, which is the most prominent button. It needs to call to action. It needs probably a caller that will put a focus on it. And that is the moment how the process of meeting at location is initiated, right?
Yeah.
And the moment when we can either invite somebody to join the process, or we can just start the process and not share the location, because we just need to direct ourselves to a certain point.
Yeah.
So the next step, probably the most basic representation of sharing the location, would be just a native share slide up element, which will represent that this share action has triggered the native share element for the very simple reason. We, as explained in the documentation so far, we don't want these users to be registered users. We don't want him to have this barrier to entry into an app, which if we had, we need every user to register before they can enter the process. If you use the native share, what it means is that we can share this location through a URL that will represent the location and the process itself, through native means, which is it an iMessage, SMS, Viber, WhatsApp, whatever.
Yeah.
And whoever user receives this URL will enter the process.
Yeah.
The next most important aspect is that we must be careful about some potential problems when using the app. This app requires active internet connection, and if it doesn't have active internet connection, we must disable the user from using the app. So we just need some dialogue that will overlay the map and prevent user from using it, and it needs a message that clearly indicates that the user must be connected to the internet in order to resume using the app. This dialogue may open at any time during using the app, as it does have to be at early beginning. It can just be in the middle of the process, okay? The next very important thing is also location services, which must be enabled on the user's phone in order to use the app, because otherwise we cannot know the location of the user. So this would be another sort of model overlay which will prevent user from resuming using the app if the location services are not enabled. Of course, a very clear message and graphical solution must indicate to user how to resolve the problem.
Yeah.
So now we have the basic functionality covered. We have two edge use cases which prevent user from using the app covered as well. The next step is let's show other users who have joined the process, and let's see them on the map,
Okay.
so that we explain that is the process that is happening. And these users we'll go in the next step of elaborating how the users enter the app and how they define themselves, what is their profile. Again, taking strong consideration into the fact that we don't want them to register. We still need the share button, as we want anybody in the process to be able to invite more users, so that button is still in the focus. Then the button on the right-hand side, which is the recenter button, will be twofold. Basically, it can be a recenter. So if you scroll away from the location marker, if you zoom to a certain level, the recenter button will resume the map in a way that all the users are visible on the map.
Yeah.
But another tap on this button, as we have discussed, Dragan, is that it should be a compass button.
Yeah, compass.
Something that users are used to when using navigation apps, even though this is not a navigation app. But as I'm navigating myself towards a point where everybody will meet, it is helpful to turn on the compass mode, which will position the map in a way that it is always pointed in the direction of my movement.
Of course.
Or travel, depends how am I moving, right?
We need one more button.
Okay, that's the cancel button,
yeah.
right? So the cancel button is something that will cancel the entire process. And this is a good moment to elaborate why a functional specification is needed as one of the milestones in the future. Let's concentrate on the cancel button. What the cancel button means for myself who have initiated the process and for anybody else who has joined the process. If I have initiated the process, logically, if I cancel the process ends and everybody's out of it.
Yeah.
But if I have joined the process, somebody else initiated, and I press the cancel button, I will just leave the process.
Yeah.
So that is something visual representation cannot elaborate. That's why we need functional explanation later on. It will come in the milestone number 8 or 9. Not important at the moment, but just wanted to point the importance of it.
Yeah.
This sums up the core functionality of the app. There is much more to it. There are a lot of details, but we are sketching the concept right now, and we should not focus too much on too many details, even though we did go to some extent, which I believe is a logical drill to the core functionality.
Yeah.
Now we're going to focus on the very entry into the app by the user. And even though we should probably focus now on this registration part, which is not actually a registration, but let's see how the user should enter the app and then flow through the information, flow through functionality to set up the profile and then move on. So of course we're going to need the splash screen.
Yeah, the first screen is always splash with
Yes, a logo, maybe animation, something that is just preloading elements in the background. So this is a first indication also of the technical requirements, which are one of the milestones here, and what we can do during this animation of the splash screen is probably check if the user has any active internet connection. We can pop up the dialog which asks user to accept location sharing, and also turn on the location services and position the user prior to showing the first screen. So we can use do a lot of smart things there and not have a user wait on the first screen. During this entry process, even though the application is simple, we should give user some information of how to use the app, just basic use case. Let's say there are 3 key things the user needs to do. So we can just overlay the main screen with the map, with focus on, let's say, a share button, which is one of the most important things, and a little dialog which explains to user how it is being used. We're gonna show at the bottom probably just a slider. There's more to it, and also a skip button if user doesn't want to be bothered with that. We simply have to cover every type of user, from the ones that use apps daily in all kind of ways to the ones that are just new users to any platform. So we always need to look after all possible users. So we have that covered, and now we can finally rather define who our user is that is joining the app for the first time.
Yep.
So as we said, we don't want to focus to force this user to register, but it would be good to know at least their username, if not the full name, and some graphical representation, some avatar, some photo of them. So let's pop up a screen which will allow the user to add their photo and enter their username. A username by default will be predefined with some, I don't know, user123, something that will generate automatically. And the avatar will be some color representation of the user. It doesn't really matter, but they don't have to add the photo. They don't have to assign the username. It's just an option. It's not a mandatory requirement. So we have a next button and a skip button again, as it needs to be clear to the user that this is not a necessary step. There's much more to it, something we don't have to work on it right now, as what happens when a user chooses a photo. Do they take a photo? Do they choose a photo? We need to ask them to allow access to the photo gallery and to the camera as well, and to show a progress of upload, something that don't need to be in the sketches, something that will go into wireframing phase.
Of course.
So if you want to share, just show everything to guys watching us. So we have now the full process. We have the splash screen.
Yeah, splash screen. Then we have some kind of help or
Helping,
wizard.
so, yes.
Yeah. And after that, we need some kind of login or
Yes, registration, which is not
Registration,
mandatory,
yeah.
just identification of the user, which is not too personalized and is not mandatory. And then we go into these steps. So the first
main
one being,
screens. Main screens.
a search of the location where the meeting will happen, with the option to move the map to center it to meeting location. Now the user will show up on the map where they are at the moment. They can recenter if they move too far, share the location to others with the native share, at which moment we'll see all the users who have joined. Of course, if there is barrier to use the app, we'll show it. They can cancel the process, invite more, and use it as a compass in the compass mode. Something we have forgotten here is, yes, the last thing that is very important in this entire process is the goal is that everybody reaches the location.
Yeah.
When they're reaching the location, we need to notify everybody, all the users of the process, that they have reached the location. So native push will happen to inform the users, but we need some graphical representation in the app itself. When you open the app, that you can see somebody has reached the location. And of course that I have reached location myself while using the app. So we just need basically this screen right here with an overlay, maybe some flag and some text that like, yes, you have reached the destination, and yada yada yada.
Like, something like this, like some icon.
Yes, and you have reached the destination, and that completes the process from your side. Maybe we could use the similar one when everybody has reached the location, so a push notification will happen that all actors of the process have reached notification. A similar representation to this, no need to draw any more screens during the concepting phase. This covers it. I'm sure there's much more, but at this point we're not going to all these details, rather being rough about it. The next milestone is improving the concepts, and we'll be talking about that in the next episode, as there's so much more that can be done to improve not only user interface but the experience as well, in terms of how many people are in the process, how many have reached the process, who are they, when have they reached the location, when will they reach the location. There's so much more. But this is the first step of sketching the concept. In the next milestone of improving the concept, iterative improvement of the concept, we'll get to those details. Now, the last but also important matter is that we need to have some sort of the main menu. So we probably need to just add it somewhere in all these screens that there is access to the menu. Maybe we can fit it in the search bar next to it. Not too important at the moment. Yeah, that will cover it. So this main menu, what do we need to have in it? We need to allow user access to their profile. So maybe at some point they will want to add their photo and their username. So access to my profile. Yeah. Maybe we can use it to show some logo of the app, to have some branding inside the apps. Why not? After my profile, we don't really have any actual settings, anything too important here, but there's some basic things. My profile, we want users to be able to share the app as well, not only share the location. So let's have an option to share the app, as we need our users to be our advocates, our evangelists to the app itself. Yeah. Then we need access to the help as well. If somebody skipped the process but does need help, so let's have it accessible from the main menu. Terms and conditions, very important, as we need to look after legal stuff about app usage, about what we collect from users. This probably includes privacy policy as well. Yeah. Not too important to put it there, but just a note to ourselves.
And of course
about just something, who built this and why we built it, that kind of stuff. Maybe goes to the website or whatever. So let's say that would cover it for now. That is the most basic, still more than basic, but very basic representation of the concept. Again, sketching the concept. This is not wireframing. This is everything we've written so far, now visual. I hope this has been interesting to you and that you have picked up the core information from this milestone. Milestone number 5, concept sketching, 5 key actions. First one being sketching the core functionality, expanding some use cases around core functionality. Then we go into a very entry or into the app by the user itself and what we need to cover there. Setting up their profile, which in this case is not mandatory, but it's indicative. And closing up with the least important stuff, yet important to some extent, which is the main menu and what we access from there. There's no need to go into what happens in these screens, like how we share an app, what is in terms and conditions, so on. Totally irrelevant now. In the next step, we're going to go into this iterative improvement of the initial concept.
And more details.
More details about it. Everything. About everything. We have to cover off everything by hand, based on which Dragan's team can go on and start preparing wireframes, and based on which the technical team can start preparing functional documentation. This is a process which will further improve the improvements, but it's constructive progress, and it will complement itself on every new add-on. Very important stuff is working with a team. Even if you don't have a team yourself, it's good to just ask a friend or somebody to think with you, challenge you, and think about more things, as you know, 2 heads are more worth than 1 and 5 heads are more worth than 2. So it's very important having a team there, even if there's some friends helping you. We're gonna put this stuff on our Medium, Instagram, everything, so any details will be there. Feel free to contact us directly if you need any help on this. We'll be happy to assist. Leave the comments everywhere. We'll be very proactive responding.
Bye, guys.
Okay, thank you for watching. Take care. Bye-bye. Hey guys, I really hope I brought you value with this episode of the Digital Product Concepting and Innovation. Go ahead, subscribe, share this, pass it on, and let me know what you think.